Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back, all subscribers and previous live stream viewers, and also welcome to all the new live streamers who haven't visited the channel yet. Welcome to this Monday morning New York session here on January the 8th. As you can see, I had a limit order on my screen, which a scalp that never materialized, and price has already pulled away and made a new high. So I'll go ahead and cancel that now. I had that in the moments waiting up to the session. Just remove that out the way. We'll give everyone just a couple minutes to join, and then we'll do a quick top-down analysis before the opening bell here. Right, Phoenix, good morning. How's it going? Hope you had a good weekend. Hope everyone had either a fun or relaxing weekend or a combo of both. Seems like forever since we've traded a Monday. It's been a couple Mondays in a row, full of holidays, but we're back. Yeah, we have a full week of trading this week, and also there's no high impact or medium impact news on Monday, Tuesday. So trading will be, it'll be like a typical Monday. Usually if there's a day without news, it's a Monday. And so we get that today and tomorrow. Then we'll have some high impact news. It looks like CPI comes in this week. In fact, let's start off there. We're kind of planning out our week. So we can see, like I said, no impact news Monday, Tuesday. And then on the 10th, on Wednesday, we have 10-year bond, medium impact at 1 p.m. So nothing in the morning session. Thursday is where everything happens. So Thursday is where CPI gets announced, month over month, year over year. Unemployment claims also. So 8:30 in the morning, there's quite a bit of news that's going to be released with a 30-year bond auction at 1 p.m. on Thursday. And then we round out Friday with another news session at 8:30, which is core PPI month over month, as well as PPI month over month. So you can see what the forecasts are there, and we'll see what the actuals come in later this week. And when they do, we'll see how that impacts the dollar, and then how the dollar impacts the rest of the commodities. So with that being said, let's move over and take a peek at where the market is now. We'll start with the dollar. Okay, let's I guess we can take a peek at the weekly so we can see how last week's ended. Last week was a very strong candle after it looks like 2.5, 3 months of selling activity. We had this really bullish pushed up candle, which if you really pay attention, it pushed up into this bearish fair value gap and rejected out. So unless I see the dollar just starting to take off in a bullish momentum, in a bullish way, in a bullish manner, and it sweeps this high, I'm not bullish on dollar at all. I'm expecting for this rejection that was last week out of the dollar to resume and carry on. And then as a minimum, we see this week's candle fill in this gap so there's no fair value gap. So trade down to where 2 weeks ago's high wick was. So I'm expecting to see the dollar start pushing in that direction. And honestly, I'm expecting it to continue. But we do have quite a few news events this week that's going to impact the dollar. So we'll see where that lands. And then we'll adjust from there. Okay, so that's the weekly. Now, if we look at the daily, this is where we are so far. And you can see it's Friday's candle was indecisive, sweeping highs and lows. Friday's candle was the one that actually traded into this fair value gap that we saw on the weekly. It also traded down into this bullish fair value gap on the daily. and settled right around the opening price. So for right now, we see the dollars has started to sell. And I'm not sure it'll continue that today, but for the week, that's my expectation. Okay, let's move down to the hourly and see if there's anything to note there. Let's see. We have relative equal lows here. 3 or 4 candles. Let's see. With a pretty long wick here that never got traded halfway down, halfway into. So we like to see wicks of that stature traded halfway into at least to balance price. So that hasn't happened. That's another reason to believe that price will go lower. Let's remove some of these from last week. All right, and assuming that price can get below this wick, once it trades halfway into it, if it continues and takes out the low, then we have a sizable bullish fair value gap, which we can mark up here. So this would be sort of my target early on, is for this to be the area to trade into. All right, and there's a few more below, but then we start getting back into the yearly open on January 1st. In a nutshell, that's where we are. I'm bearish on dollar, looking to see the dollar moving lower, but Wednesday and Thursday will really determine that. All right, let's jump over and take a peek at ES. Where is my ES? Somewhere it's gone. It's okay. We'll just add it back. All right. Start again at the weekly. Okay. We had a bullish fair value gap set up and waiting last week. We saw price trade into that 50% of the fair value gap. Let me just mark that up so we can have a better visual of it. Right. Traded right to the 50% and rejected towards the end of the week, towards the end of Friday. Excuse me. Also, traded back into this swing high as price traded past it several weeks ago. It traded back as a retest into this level, also the order block. So let's see, got that here. Hello, everyone. Good morning, all. Mickey, Phoenix, CEO, Chuck. Hello, everyone. Good morning. All right, so we see now we're still in this area here, which is a bullish area. We're still in the upper half of the fair value gap, trading above. We had a wick through, but the candle bodies all stayed above. We want to see now if we can get a closure of a candle body above. So today's level is 47.43, essentially. We want to see if we can get a close above 47.43. Which would then give us more confidence and a bullish week for ES. Let's see, more fair value gaps. Here's one. Right, it's good to see this confluence here where we had a fair value gap on the weekly, and then here on the daily, you see it in the same area, and it's in the top half. So as long as the daily stays within this fair value gap and trades out of, then we should see the same for the weekly, which is a good sign. Shift down to the 1 hour and see if there's anything that happened overnight we should be paying attention to this morning. Nope, doesn't look like anything was left. Price has pretty much been trading in a range. We saw it open up yesterday at 1800. We saw a slight sell-off sweeping this low. And then we saw our price starting to build, sweeping the high up here. And now we're close to where the midnight started. Actually misspoke. 1800 started here. And then we saw the sell-off. All right, let's quickly jump over to Nasdaq, since it's where we're gonna pretty much be living today. Let's get back to the week and let's see if we have some of the same activity that we saw with ES. With the commodities, we really want to see a very similar activity with sweeping lows, sweeping highs, that kind of thing. All right, the weekly, we do see a trade into this fair value gap. However, we saw on ES, we saw a trade into like 50% and then a rejection above. Here we see a trade all the way through to the lower extremity. Right, to the tick, to the lower end. And then we saw a rejection towards the end of the day, creating that daily wick and weekly wick there. So now this week, what we want to see is we want to make sure that price doesn't really create a big bearish fair value gap, because we already have the one that we rejected out of 2 weeks ago, which is why we started selling off last week. So we want to make sure that price doesn't create a bearish fair value gap here that it can't break through, and then we start seeing price move lower. There are some more bullish fair value gaps down that were created back in November, but we'd rather see price not trade back that far. One thing we didn't get was a retest to the to the order block like we got on ES. So this level here at 16,242. So if we do see price shoot down, we would expect there to be some level of activity once it reaches that level, and we're expecting bullish activity to then push up. Let's hope we don't get there, but if we do, we're talking about, okay, that's 250 points. That's like an entire day almost worth of trading. Let's see. All right, we got a nice bearish fair value gap up here to tend to. Once price starts to build, it'll be a nice space right here. Essentially, this almost 2/3, 3/4 of this candle. So that may be when we get news later in the week, that may be a time for price to break through that barrier. Going down to the hour. Right, this morning so far, we just had a sweep of these highs. We had a sweep of this low on the way down. Just same thing we saw in ES. Right. All right, we got relative equal highs. This swing high is relatively the same as this one. So as we're buying up, this is an area that we'll want to see price push through. And it's only about another 70 points from where we are now. So that could be pretty easy to go and grab today, as well as this level here over at 685. So those are some early levels to see price run to. But we're getting closer to opening bell, so we shift back down to the 5-minute. We got the 15-minute down in the bottom left for everyone if you're looking for a higher time frame. Oh, yeah, for anyone who was on the afternoon session, and I don't know if you remember, but I got stopped out early on this one, and then it kind of kept running to target. And I just wanted to see if it would actually gather the 1 to 2 based on the risk that needed to be taken for this trade. And after opening Sunday night, it almost got there Friday afternoon, but you can see here Sunday evening it took off and finally did produce that 1 to 2 trade. So I just wanted to show that final result. All right, we're in the opening bell now. 20 seconds ago. So let's see where price runs to, which levels of liquidity are hit. Hey, good morning, Jeremiah. Let's clean up our charts a bit. Those were levels from the Friday session that we thought price could run to if it made a huge move at 345. We were looking to see if that would happen. So I needed to delete those levels. But we do see price moving now. Okay, let's take a look at the hourly. All right, those relative equal highs I spoke about. Looks like we're pushing towards those. We have our first one here at 677-ish, somewhere in that range. Actually, let's see, 677 and a quarter. And next one, 683 and three quarters. And the ultimate high is 587. Oh, I'm sorry, 583, 587, 577. Sorry, no sixes, all fives. Good morning, LaBomb Inc. Welcome, welcome. See where price goes now that it's inside of this fair value gap. Yes, I had a really good weekend. Hope everyone else also did. All right, we see a push through so far. Doesn't look like it's met with much resistance, so it may actually run for 577. Let me go ahead and line that up so we can all see that level. Sweet laughter. Good job. And good morning. Welcome back to the stream. All right, another 8 minutes on this 15-minute candle. Hey, Ray, welcome back. Yeah, absolutely. Patience is definitely the key this week. But you're right. There should be plenty of volatility starting Wednesday. The next couple days, I'm expecting straightforward price action. I I don't know. I've had good success on Mondays, not necessarily just winning big runners, but I haven't had the cautious, I guess, results that some traders have had where they avoid Mondays. It just for whatever reason, it just hasn't impacted me that way. Oh, it's lagging. Okay. Right. That area we were looking at for that buy up at 3 o'clock on Friday, that's this area here. Let me get rid of this long tool. But we can see the equal lows. Even when that trade was happening, we could see the equal lows. But now on a larger view, scanning out, you can see the equal low, which overnight was swept. So this became the drawn liquidity that was taken. And then we saw a slow build of bullish activity towards the next draw liquidity, which is the high of that same move down. Right, nearing the first target. Right, it did pierce through. It did. Try to, there we go. Large scale, you can see it went through by half a tick. Maybe it'll continue pushing, but at the very minimum, we see half a tick push through. So anyone who had that as a target for a trade has already ended their trade. Oh, I see. The other targets were here on the 1 hour, but I can still find them on the 15 minutes. It's just a little bit higher. There's one, and this is the last one. Okay. Now let's see if we get a retracement now, or if we see price just push through all three. Yep. Okay. Yeah, I haven't been following Apple, so I'm not familiar with where they are in price action. But thanks, Ray. All right. If we get a close on the other side of this fair value gap, I'm going to flip it and see if it becomes an inversion fair value gap, as opposed to just deleting it. Normally I just delete them. But I want to see if we close up here somewhere, if we then get a retracement in the next candle down to touch it and then continue upwards. But we still have almost 2.5 minutes worth of price action before we can get to that. Sweet, sweet, sweet. You hit the target. Awesome. So 1150 for the day. Good. Oh, 10-year T-note. I don't think I've ever traded anything else other than just indice futures. Okay. All right, about another minute on this 15-minute candle. I think it's safe to say this will likely survive. Yeah, laughter. I would say if you came in and you've already made $1,000 today, you've done well. As a minimum, uh, pull back for this session and maybe come back this afternoon, but potentially consider, just based on your trading history, consider just paper trading the rest of the day. All right, looks like we hit all three targets. Yep, sure did. High on this candle is 16,587 and 3/4. This level is 15,587 and 1/4. So another half a tick above. Well, I'm sorry, 2 ticks, half a point. All right, I'll make this a bit smaller now. Again, This fair value gap may now turn into a bullish fair value gap where we'll see a retracement down, tap it, and then continue on. Let's drop these levels now, including the lower one. Go back to the higher time frame and look for new targets. Okay, 2 levels there. Let's go to a smaller time frame and see if there's an entry or something that we can see. Okay, it looks like so far the only entry, assuming someone wanted this long, the only entry appears to be after remember we just had the three close targets to each other. After the first one was reached, there was a small retracement where it stalled for 4 or 5 minutes. Looks like that was the only entry, at least the only fair value gap entry. Right. Got a small retracement here, fair value gap entry. The other 2 targets were then taken, and that's where we are now. But outside of that, price just sort of did its thing starting at 9:30, and if you were in, great, and if you weren't, you just got to watch from the sideline. Yep. Okay. Typically, election year is a very bullish one. Awesome. Awesome. That's good. That's good to know. All right, everyone. If you give me just 2 minutes, I'm going to just grab a quick refill of the coffee cup, and I will be right back. After the quick intermission, I am back. All right, another 10 minutes before the hour. Also the start of the 950 macro. Okay, let's take a peek over at our other indices. Let's take a peek at ES, see where we are. Okay. I mean, this type of activity is not what we saw in Nasdaq. Not at all. So ES had a nice big candle at 9:30. Excuse me, for 5 minutes, and then had nearly a complete retracement of that progress all the way down to make sure there was no fair value gap created on this time frame. Basically had an inside range candle. I mean, it poked out a little bit to make a new high, just barely, but all the trading was in the range mostly. And now we have this 5 minute candle trading back down. Maybe it'll only take out half of this wick, but it could potentially take it all. Just take a quick peek. Okay, on the hourly time frame, we see the dollar is pushing downwards towards a low from Friday. Not the low from Friday, but a swing low from Friday. Okay, the Dow is also pushing downwards, which is strange for the hour. Whereas ES and Nasdaq are moving upwards, have strong bullish candles for the hour. Alrighty, let me switch back over. But just to show you what the Dow is doing, this is what the Dow has looked like since 9:30. It bought up, lost an entire gain, lost the level, swing low, lost another swing low, lost these equal lows, lost this swing low. And now we have relative equal lows here, which we now see it pushing towards. NQ is definitely the leader, but it's not a comfortable situation when the three indices are not paired together. Yeah, you're right. It is hard to tell where NQ is going next. We'll just have to wait and see for a minute. Last candle was an inside range candle, so didn't sweep the low or the high of the previous candle. Since we're switching around from different time frames, what I'm going to do is turn on the fair value gap indicator. So as we flip time frames, it'll just paste them in for us. Wow. Holy smokes. It's 5 minute. It's extremely bullish. It looks like there was a little bit of insight into the 9:30 open. Here at 9:25, this 5 minute candle, we see traded into a small fair value gap created within the 10 minutes before. And then that propelled the 9:30 all the way up, where it really didn't give another entry all the way until you got up in this area. However, I don't know about you, but I would not have been willing to trust that the 9:30 open would have such a small retracement, just a couple points, and then it would just take off. Okay, we have a new high now. So now what we'll do is we'll put those other highs into perspective, those other targets I marked up, which are additional swing highs on the hourly time frame. It was either the hourly or 15-minute, one of the two I marked up. I think it was the 15. Oops. All right, it's about another 20 points to the next target. Okay, all right. So CEO, it depends. Are you, did you do a market execution? Now, if you did a market execution, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to go in and you're going to have to place a, okay, I'm not currently in a trade, otherwise it would give me the option. But if you're in a long, you'll have to go in, and the way to get out of a long is to have a short. So you would have to put a short wherever you wanted your stop loss to be. But what I would suggest you do is to not do a market execution for two reasons. One, you get really bad fills. You just get whatever they give you at the time. Most of the time, it's a 1 or 2 second delay, and so price may move a little bit. And so you just don't get filled where you want to get filled. So you want to get in the habit of doing limit orders. And when you do a limit order, you're able to set which price you get in at, and then you can clearly put in these items, right? That's the safest and I think the least risky move to take is to always do limit orders. Always have at least the stop loss in, even if you don't have the TP. But you can place that before you do the order, and so it's already right. You have your entry, your TP, and your stop loss all at the same time, and you can shift things around as you need to. Right. But yeah, if you're already in a trade and you just did a market execution, then you're going to want to go in and you're going to go in and act like you're putting on a trade, but the opposite direction. So if it hits that point, it takes you out. Same with your TP. You're going to have to put in a short. Say, when I get here, execute a sell to get me out of my trade. Right. I had an issue trying to do that on a market execution once, and for whatever reason, I just couldn't get it to put the opposite order in, so I could have a stop loss on the screen. And so what I had to do is I had to manually do it. I had to watch, and if it got close to my level, then I just had to hit the button to collapse the trade. Yeah, I hope that helps. But you really want to get in the habit of doing market execution at all times. All right, we just got relative equal highs here. We'll want to note that this target has been taken, so we'll delete that. Limit or stop. Yeah, that's true. The limit or the stop order. Make sure you get it correct. All right, everyone. We've crossed over into 10 o'clock. We're into the next hour now. The macro is finishing up in another 5 minutes. Anyone looking for silver bullet entry, we are now within that time frame. All right, equal highs as I noted, and make sure you note that. That would be a target for price. That's already been taken now. Next location is 653 and a quarter. Hope we didn't miss the silver bullet. Small one, only 11. So 1 to 2 would be here, and the trade would be over already. Ten o'clock would have been your entry. Would have already exited. Did anyone take this entry as a silver bullet? All right, we just had another tap into fair value gap right here. This one. All right, everyone, if you could do me a big favor and hit the like button, and that would help YouTube out quite a bit into realizing that our room is one that people want to be in, and they'll promote us to other traders. Try to get us, see if we can't get up to 100 viewers this session. In order to do that, we need YouTube to continue to recommend us to others searching for live trading, that kind of thing. So if you could do me a favor and hit the like button, that would help out tremendously. We are dealing with quite a bit of competition. A lot of the normal traders took last week off, or the last 2 weeks off, and now they're back in action this morning. But if you could hit that like button, that would be a tremendous help. Thank you very much. Five-minute busy. Okay. Yeah, let's get off the 1 minute. Thing is that 1 minute is already delivered, and so that's really the space you want to be in. Once that delivered, that's why when I marked up that the second entry where it could have been another entry, but once it tapped in by 1 or 2 ticks and then it didn't take away, I mean, it didn't run away, it kind of retraced back down a second time. I wasn't as intrigued to get in. Plus, I had already seen the first entry go to target, and I generally hate trying to jump on a winner after I see it win. Let's see, how close did we get? We got okay, about 9 points away from the next point of liquidity. Okay. Thanks a lot, everyone. I appreciate the likes. Thank you. Okay, let's just mark this one up again for anyone who's in a trade already. Oh, hey, John. Right, relative equal highs here. So very short-term target en route to the full target. Short-term target's worth about 15 points, 16 maybe. Full target is 25. And that was a strong opening. First 10 seconds or so of this candle. It's quite bullish. All right. 644 and a quarter. So almost to that position. One tick away. Didn't quite take a new high. Let's check in on where the dollar is for the hour. Okay, now we're in a next hour. The dollar is still selling off, which is good for what we're looking at ES. We have a slight buy coming from the Dow, so maybe it'll uh, get in tune with the other two indices and start to follow. S&P so far for the hour has been pretty stagnant. Yeah, pretty much the same as where Nasdaq is. So Nasdaq, since the hour started, has been pretty much here. We had what I called earlier the silver bullet, had a run up, delivered 20 points, and then price hasn't really done anything since then. Maybe it's waiting on its Dow partner to catch up, and then they'll all run together. Anyone who likes this long setup, it's giving you 3, 4, 5 entries. Let's see if this is finally the candle that'll break that high, push through that first closer target, which is about 15 points from entry, towards the second target, which is about 25 points from entry. Hey, Samuel, good morning. How's it going? All right, Ray, you're still waiting for the 5 minute fair value gap to get hit. All right. So you're waiting for a 613 level. Hmm. Okay. All right. So that would invalidate the trade that we're in now, or not the trade we're in because we're not in a trade, but the setup that we're looking at. 613. Yeah. Let me look at the 2 minute just to see what's there. Okay. So around the same. Okay. All right, let's just be patient and see what happens with the setup, whether it delivers or whether it fails and we see price push through the lower extremity. If that happens, then of course we have the fair value gap, the larger one, just below, down to about 16,590 area, and we may see a push from there. No, you will, Samuel. Don't worry. You got 4 R's so far. Oh, sweet. Awesome, man. Yeah, I had the first one I did actually. I think I got one viewer, and for the most part, it always said there was 0 viewers, and so I didn't know to even speak. And then when it finally said I had a viewer, I would start talking, and the viewer was already gone, and the counter was just lagging and updating. So stick with it. You'll get 2 or 3 people to view, and then you'll get 5, and then you'll have 10, and then you'll have 20, and it'll just go from there. Yeah, I almost didn't notice you, Samuel, with the new branding, but it looks good. All right, is this the candle that'll do it? That'll give us a new high? And if it does, will it push all the way to the top? Flash Fire, good morning. How are you? Welcome to the channel. I don't think I've ever seen a comment from you, but good to have you here. Yeah, I thought about uploading shorts, and I'm gonna get to it. I just have a long list of things I want to do to improve the channel. I started working on some of them this weekend, but yes, uploading shorts, like basically like recaps of the trades I take or any big moments from the live stream. Then yes, I've thought about doing that, either shorts or in just other long format, but just a recap of the day. So it may be a 3 or 4 minute video. All right, so the first target was taken. Let's go ahead and move that out of the way. Very near to the second one, but still a good ways away from full target, which is 30 points from entry. Entry was at 528 and 3/4, or 628 and 3/4. Oh, okay. Thanks, man. Let me write that down. Okay, good splash. Good to hear that. And again, welcome to the channel. Glad to have you. Oh wow. Okay. Awesome. Maybe I definitely do need to institute shorts then, so I can see if I can't get marketed to another group of traders that so far haven't found me. All right, second target taken as well. Let's see now if it can push to full target and get a 1 to 2 trade. Remember, entering this trade required a 15.5 point stop loss. So you're hoping to get 31 points out of it. Close. Not quite there yet. 55 watching. Yeah, it's we're getting there. We've definitely had better mornings though, especially last week. Last week was the best week we had attendance wise so far. We want to continue to build on that. Obviously, like I said, there's some fierce competition now. So those who've been streaming for quite some time and have thousands of subscribers have taken the last 2 weeks off when I have experienced the largest part of my growth. And now they're back. So I understand it. But I won't let that stand in the way of my growth. I will continue. I want to continue to to lead the channel the way that I've been leading it. And hopefully as more and more people discover us, they find this, their style of trading and the type of room they want to belong to, and we can continue to grow. So I won't let it discourage me. But I understand why the numbers aren't what they were last week. But again, thank you all for the likes and for everything that you've done for the channel, supporting me, showing up every day. I have a good group of, seems like at least around 15, maybe 20 of you that are here every single day. And I can't thank you enough for your attendance and support. Money Making Monday. uh, let's see. Will it deliver the 1 to 2, or will we have another day like Friday where it gets almost there and then it just kind of goes sideways? I mean, I showed first thing this morning that trade from Friday afternoon that set up and whether it delivered the 1 to 2, and it did, but you would have had to hold over the weekend and wait for the open on Sunday afternoon. Um, Obviously, none of the prop firms let you do that, but if you had a private account, you could have done it. Thank you, CEO. Thank you, Dustin. All right, we're pushing. We're in the 60s now, so I think we're doing well. And again, thank you all for supporting, and not only that, but also encouraging me. It's not easy to trade in front of others, and so when you see me being cautious, it's because I have two things going. I have one where I need to make sound decisions, sound trades, and not be impulsive, because that's been an issue of mine in the past, and so I'm trying to overcome that. And secondly, I want to make sure that I'm being a good host to all of you. People in this room are of various skill levels, and so those who are a bit more new in their first year of trading or so are more inclined to want to copy everything that I do. And so I had to make sure that if someone's doing that, they're not wrecking themselves. I know it's not my responsibility, but um, I want everyone to enjoy trading. That's how the room will grow. That's how people are going to continue to come back. And I find trading enjoyable, even though it's the hardest thing I've ever done. Okay, let's see if this secondary entry is the one that's going to push us up. This fair value gap. I'm not sure if it's going to be this one or the one below. Oh, wow. Okay, so this 1 to 2 trade can end without even sweeping highs. Let's take a look at the one lower. All right, 1.25 above the previous setup, entering on that fair value gap. just under 15 points from the full target. Yeah, it's this trade is extremely slow moving, and so if you were able to grab some profit out of it, then I think it's okay to sit on the sideline and wait for another setup. Um, Again, I didn't jump in this one because I missed the original one. The original one was this buy up here. There was, I'll just show everyone what it was. There was a fair value gap right here, created at 10 o'clock. So this candle pushing down at 10, stopped right here, creating a fair value gap. The next candle, 10:01, traded into it, below it. Next candle, 10:02, came back, closed above, and then it pushed to target. So by missing that trade, I wasn't as interested in jumping in the next one. All right, so we had those equal highs swept, which we had a good idea that would happen. We're about a point away from this fair value gap entry turning into a 1-2 trade, which is what I like to see. I like to see them all turn into 1-2s. Holding or staying in the trade and making sure you don't get stopped out sometimes require a sizable stop loss. And so you want to make sure you get rewarded for that. That's why I like a 1-2. And there we have it right there. It's the high on this candle, 59 3/4. 59 3/4. It's questionable whether it would have taken you out of trades. Depending on how many contracts you had, sometimes it may have your trade still open. If that was me sitting there and I saw it go all the way right to the tick and it didn't take me out, I would just collapse my trade and forfeit 2 or 3 points, whatever was there. But you may see it push back up and then, it would have delivered everything. But if it gets that close and for whatever reason it doesn't take me out of the trade, I'll take myself out. Okay, so that was 2 examples this morning of if you take a fair value gap trade, how you stay in and how to target set. So for everyone who's a little newer, not only to the room but to the trading discipline, those who haven't back test enough to understand what risk reward you should use, I like 1-2, and when you enter on a fair value gap, I like putting my stop loss. You see how this candle is the one that created the fair value gap. So you have a wick here and a wick down here, but this candle in the middle is the one that created it. I like putting my stop below the wick of the candle to the left. So you can see that's where this level is now for anyone who's wondering why I chose that level. And for me, it works because if it gets below this level and trades below, now we're looking at a market structure shift and potentially a push downwards. So in that case, I do want to get taken out of the trade. Chris, welcome back. Welcome back, Chris. Good to have you. Right, so we had exactly a 1-2 trade delivered. So for anyone who believed in that setup and took the trade and stayed in and held it for, let me see, it would have tapped you in at 10:12. You would have finally got tapped out at 10:41. Right, so nearly 30-minute trade. So anyone who held that, congratulations. All right, let me go and grab my last cup of coffee for this morning. We have about an hour and 15 minutes before the session's over, so we'll get ready for the final portion. I'll be right back. Let's see where we are now. I'm back. Hmm. Okay, there it is. It finally did push through that level. Just took another 5 minutes. All right, let's look for where price may be headed next. Okay, so these are our next two swing highs that are points of liquidity that price may target. And this is if it wants to continue bullish this morning until lunch. So we're at right around 660. The next target 674, so that's not too far away. But then we're looking at 729 and a half. It's almost 730. And then we have our new day opening gap from the first day of the year. Or from, well, it's from the second. So it may be the second. Um, yeah, from the second trading day of the year. Let's get back down to the 5 minute. And let's take a peek also. Let's just make sure, okay, the dollar is at its low of the hour. So it's continuing to push opposite of Nasdaq. The Dow Jones, wow. Okay, so the Dow is catching up. The Dow is pushing really hard this hour. It's near the high of the day. There's a fair value gap right in front of it on the hourly. It will need to push through, but assuming it can get through, the Dow will have a highest value of the day. We have S&P took out Friday's high. Yep, Friday had equal highs that the S&P took out just this past hour. And then let's look on Nasdaq. Let's look for the same thing. Let's go to the hourly. Friday. Okay, so Friday high. Like this was just taken out on S&P just a few minutes ago, but Nasdaq obviously took it out last hour. Thursday high is gone. The next target is a Wednesday value. So the high of Wednesday is actually the upper term, the upper limit that I set up, 16,729 and a half. It's the high of Wednesday. So let's see if that's the next target in play. I think we can safely say this one here is getting ready to be swept. All right. So as far as last week's concerned, on the Nasdaq side, Thursday and Friday's highs have already been taken. So now we'll see if S&P can catch up and take out Thursday, and then we'll see if also the Dow continues pushing And if it's Friday, highs are in play this week or today. Although the Friday highs for the Dow are pretty steep. Okay, let's drop back down to a lower time frame. I think we'll settle in on the 5 minute. Make it a little larger. All right. While we wait for the next candle, I think this 674 level is going to be taking some time in the next few minutes. So I need to run to do something for 1 to 2 minutes. I'll be right back. Hopefully, when I get back, 674 level has already been taken. All right, I'm back. Okay, still has not taken that level. I thought the last candle may have pushed up there, or I'm sorry, not the last one, but the early stages of this candle. Um, so far it's rejecting. Mhm. Okay, let's just switch over since not a lot is happening in Nasdaq right now. Let's take a peek at ES. Jump up on the hour and see if we have similar levels to pay attention to on ES. This was the Friday equal highs that was swept I spoke about. So we'll go ahead and we'll mark up the Thursday high. And then we'll just leave those two levels for now. Okay, new hour now, 11 o'clock. I want to thank everyone who's been on since early 9:15 this morning. We're closing in on 2 hours now, so thanks for hanging out with me that long. Uh, Great question. Great question. Let's switch back over to NQ and see where we are now. Hmm. All right, let's see if we get a push out of this box here. All right, got some new blood in the room now. Some new energy. You Few new traders joined us at 11 o'clock. Welcome to the channel. Al, good morning. Hi. Welcome to the channel. Let's go to a lower time frame and see if we can see a bit more price action, or if there's a gap, fair value gap, or something that may hold price here and then push it upwards. For whatever reason, price got really close to the next liquidity point, next swing high, and just so far has failed to push through. So that rejection is pushing price back down into previous area. So I just highlighted this candle right here, stretch it across, and want to see if price trades into it. So far, we can see it staying above the 50% mark. We want to see if it continues that, and then we finally get that push through. All right, Phoenix, it looks like that push upwards is happening now. No guarantees, but it's looking good so far. Okay, so it did sweep the high here. So at least made a new high over this set of candles. We're still waiting for it to reach 674. And 674 just paves the way for the next level of 729 to be the next point of liquidity if it wants to continue looking for um, those who went short last week and start taking out their stops. Looks like that was close, but not exactly. High of 673 and 3/4. And we're looking for 674 flat. So almost there. Mm-hmm. Okay, a little rejection now. So we got within one tick of the next pool of liquidity, and now we're rejecting back down. All right, since we're in a new hour, I just want to take a look at all the other indices as well as the dollar and just see where they are. All right, so far the first 10 minutes has been bearish for all indices as well as the dollar. Angel, good morning, welcome. Good to have you from Mexico. No, Malik, I haven't taken any yet. I had a limit order set up just before the opening bell. It never got filled. So I haven't taken any trades. And then the opening bell just kind of took off. And without providing an entry. And then the silver bullet, I switched over at like 10:04, and the silver bullet happened at 10:01. So no, I haven't taken any yet. I missed them all. But we'll see. There's still time, and we still have the afternoon. 7:29 is Wednesday London high. Okay, that's that's what I have marked up. So that'll be the high of Wednesday so far. We've seen Friday's high taken. We're within a quarter of Thursday's high, and then we have Wednesday's high. Thank you, Angel. Thank you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for the compliment. And yeah, I'm having fun so far doing this. We're starting week 6 now. So just come along for the journey and let's see how far we get. All right, we had a sweep of lows here. So now that we've traded below, actually a sweep of 2, 3 lows. Let's see now if these bearish fair value gaps hold up, and then we see price push even further downwards. I know it's a 2-minute, but we have equal lows here. We have relative equal lows here. Another set of equal lows. Right, so these could be places that price wants to hit before it continues higher, just making sure that as few people as possible are able to run all the way to the top. But we'll see. It's in the first fair value gap right here, the first one. Well, and it hasn't been created yet. I take that back. When this candle closes, then we'll see if there is a fair value gap here or not. All right, there we are. All right, we just had a trade into it. Let's see how it reacts. Okay, looks like there was no issue, no resistance pushing through. All right, invest outdoors. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah, I've heard that from several members in the group and subscribers. They really prefer the style of trading that I'm doing and I guess the demeanor of the room. So I hope to keep that up, and I'm glad that you guys are finding value. All right, so we're starting to get the indices back at their opening value for this hour. They all traded down for the first 15 minutes. They're starting to get close to break even now. And then we'll see if they push upwards. The dollar is still pushing lower, so it's a decent sized candle right now. But we'll see how the indices respond. We'll give them a couple more minutes. Angel, I'm not familiar with Oida. Maybe that's another stock or something. So I'm not familiar with it. I'm not sure if it can reach any particular level. If you stick around to the end, maybe I'll have some time and I can take a peek at it for you. But during the session, I want to stick to futures and indice futures specifically. All right, so we had a trade below this order block that I have marked up. Traded below it, closed below it, traded back in, traded below it again, back in slightly. Now it's testing it one more time. So let's see if it wants to trade above and close above. because if it does that, then we could see it run up on these highs. But it really depends on how these candles close. You want to just keep watching it. Right, but this fair value gap right here so far has been a point of rejection, which is why we see candles closing down low. Now let's get back up to the 5-minute. See what we got. All right, we got to close above on the 5-minute. All right, so prior to moving higher, what we saw was this swing low being swept that swing low. Now we see price moving higher. While that's a good sign for bullish momentum, the fact that it just barely took it out now means we have another relative equal low set up here, which price can come back later. So maybe what we'll get is a sweep of these highs, and then we'll get a return back down. Right, or it could wait till later because we do have these sets of equal lows here as well. But trust and believe, price is not going to leave these here for long. I'll remove them just so we can have fewer items on the screen and we can see price action better. But if we start seeing a breakdown in price, then I'll have to go back and mark them up just so we're aware of where liquidity lies and where the sweeps are going to be. All right, getting close. And again, thank you everyone who's liked the video so far. You can see how the room has been growing ever since everyone started pushing that button. YouTube pushed that out and started inviting more people to our room, and they're here now. We're close to 90 people watching us trade now. Okay, we're near the 50% mark now. Let's see how price reacts here. Okay, 30 seconds before this candle closes. All right, now the close above the 50%. Let's see what the follow-up candle does. Let's see the start of it, then where it finishes up. You drop down a few time frames just to see if we can find anything helpful. It looks like on every time frame you can just see price, like the range of price just falling apart here. Right. Seems like nearly every session I'm drawing up this little thing where you just see price closing its range and closing its range until eventually it breaks out. Okay, a little hourly update. For Nasdaq and ES, we're slightly bearish or right at the break even, right at the entry for ES and Nasdaq. We have the Dow slightly bullish by maybe 30 points or so. Yep. And then we have the dollar still selling, but it's done about a 50% retracement on the hourly range. Okay, and you can also see, price is enjoying this sort of range retraction, which will eventually break through. But at the moment, it's and let's see where this candle closes. Yeah, eventually it'll break out. We're now almost at 11:30, so we're about a half hour before lunch. We've had a relatively large expansion this morning. So since around, I guess, 9 o'clock or so, we've had about a 200 point range expansion. And now we see price slowing down a bit and doing a little consolidation. All right, Splash. I'll catch you next time. Thanks for joining the channel and subscribing. And yeah, we'll talk to you next time. Have a good day. Let's drop the fair value gap for a second just so we can clean our charts. I'll just put this one in. Put this one in as well. Okay, we're now trading into this fair value gap. We want to see how price responds now that it's there, whether we'll get a rejection from this somewhere around the 50% level back down, or we'll see something like what we just saw where it continues to push. The initial reaction was a rejection, went up, pushed back down. Now we want to see how it closes. Okay, we got to push through, but I found that the last 15 seconds is generally a better indicator of what the candle is going to do. A lot of times it'll just either do nothing or move in the opposite direction, and then the last 15 seconds is where you see the biggest movement for the candle. All right, so we got to close right at 50%. So we're still waiting. We want to take a look at the next couple candles. We want to see if it can push through and close above. All right. Absence of price here. Just want to make sure everyone can see that. All right, there's no candle body here. All right, we saw a trade below the 50% and it closed below. I mean, we're still in the fair value gap, but we need a close above the 50% and preferably a close above the fair value gap. Then we can remove the gap as being relevant to price action and see if those highs are in play. Oh, hi, Mike. Welcome back. We're bullish for the day. So far, we have been bullish. We've been expecting the dollar to seek lower prices, which it has. And we saw from about 9 o'clock or so, we saw a 200-point run up. So far, we've swept Friday highs, Thursday highs, and Wednesday. Well, actually, I take that back. I think this is Thursday high right here. We got within a tick of it, a couple ticks of it. So we're still looking for Thursday high to be swept, and then a Wednesday high, which is the Wednesday high is marked up right here at 729, 729 for the Wednesday high. Things are going well, Jello. Very good. No trades so far. Then the opening bell just kind of ran and didn't really provide much of an entry. And then I missed the silver bullet by a couple minutes. I was on a higher time frame. I think I was on a 5 minute, and by the time I got down and looked at the 1 minute, it had already made the silver bullet at 1 after. So at 10:01 was the entry. So I missed that one. Nope, I didn't catch the big move. No, I missed that one. I probably wouldn't have been going for the whole move anyway. I typically have my range that I like to go for. And since I don't over leverage, I usually don't have an extra contract to just let run. Um, but kind of is what it is. So, yeah, sure. All right. So since we're waiting, might as well. All right, here we go. So silver bullet is generally from 10 to 11 p.m. I'm sorry, a.m. 10 to 11 a.m. You want to look for a fair value gap that you like for it to be created after 10 o'clock, but sometimes it's already created. It's already there, and you see a trade into it at 10 o'clock. So this is where it happened. So we had a 959 candle expand. Then we start at 10 o'clock right here. We traded down and we stopped. 10 o'clock ended here. So that created this fair value gap between this high wick and this low wick. All right, so then you get your fair value gap. And then this candle at 10:01 traded into the fair value gap. So you would take your long tool. You want to enter at the very, very top of the fair value gap because sometimes it'll just tap it and then take off. So you want to make sure you're getting in. But then you want your stop loss to be not on the candle that made the fair value gap, but the candle to the left. So this one. And you want to move it to the lower extreme, whether it's a wick or in this case, it's just a body with no wick. So you pull this up. All right, so that becomes your stop loss, which is 11 points. And I always like doing 1 to 2 trades. So in that case, you're right here. Okay. That entry would have been made, oops, on this candle, right? 10:01. And right here at 10:05, that trade was over and delivered 22 points. Okay. If you missed that one, so I didn't take the second one because I missed this one. I like taking the first one. If I missed the first one, I don't like jumping in afterwards because a lot of times you'll get it deliver and then you'll get a retracement. But for those who did take it, there was a fair value gap here. Right. Actually, there was 2 fair value gaps. So you'd have had to make a decision. Right. There's 2. In my case, I would have liked to take the second one. Right. You want to, when it starts retracing, you want to get it below 50% if you can for a long. You want it to get in past equilibrium into discount. So in that case, if you took that entry, take your long tool. Okay. So if that entry was created by this candle on the fair value gap, this one to the left would be the stop loss one. So you move your stop to here. Okay. And then a 1 to 2 would finish you right here. Okay. This was a rather long trade, so you would have entered your trade on this candle at 10:11, and it would have stretched all the way until here. So you'd have exited 10:48. I think actually when I had it marked up before, this candle at 10:41 came exactly to tick. So maybe I don't know, maybe I had that one marked differently. But either way, this would have been your exit. So your trade would have finished at 1048. You would have had almost a 16-point stop, 15 and 3/4, but then your TP would have been 31 and a half. This trade, 22 points. This trade, 31 and a half. Okay. All right, Zach, thank you. But Zach, I do want to add that the only way that that works is you had to be bullish. Like you have to first have a bias. It's not the first fair value gap you see after 10 o'clock. It has to coincide with the direction that you believe price is moving. Because oftentimes you'll see a fair value gap both ways, or the first one it presents to you is in the opposite direction. So if we were bullish, the first value gap we would have seen would have been a bearish one. In that case, what you need to do is to let price continue to deliver until that fair value gap is violated and it creates a bullish fair value gap, and then you take the entry. Okay. Okay, I didn't realize that while I was walking through those silver bullet entries earlier, we did break through this sort of funnel that we were in. We were getting close to the end. Usually when you get down here, like, right, you're super relaxed because you know in a few minutes things are going to change. You don't have to wonder when it's going to happen. It's pretty clear that it has to, as it's narrowing, it has to break out at some point. So here we are. We see a breakout on the upside. So I'm going to remove these and let's hope that price continues on and doesn't stay in this little range here. Right. And it broke through and closed above quite some time ago, actually, on this fair value gap. Yep. So let's get rid of that. Just a couple minutes ago, remember I said there was no candle body here. Price returned to it and then started buying out of it. Right. But overall, we're still in the same range. Still in the same range. Haven't moved out in the last hour. But like I said, it's not uncommon after seeing a 200-point price move this morning. So the morning session has more than likely achieved its objective. And then we'll see what happens during lunch and then come back for the afternoon session. A work meeting. Yeah, it happens, Zach. I completely understand. Well, you can always give it another shot. The silver bullet comes back around at 2 p.m. So we can give it another shot this afternoon. All right, I'm looking for Nasdaq to catch up. S&P and the Dow have already, well, their hourly candles are bullish. And we're right around the entry at 11 o'clock, which was here. Entry was at 658. We're very close to that now. Slightly bearish, but only by a couple points. But I'm looking for Nasdaq to catch up and start becoming bullish. Now it has been the leader, so maybe it's waiting now for the other two to catch up, and then we'll resume later this afternoon. So I do want to be aware of that and not take a long just because I'm hoping that it catches up to the other two. It has been the leader all morning, so in all likelihood, it's just pausing so it doesn't run away. All right, everyone. This most recent candle on the 1 minute looks to be quite energetic. What we had was an open at the bottom of this volume imbalance here. Remember I said there wasn't a candle body in this area, so we saw price want to dip into it several times. Here, closed at the bottom, opened up, and now we see a lot of energy coming out of Nasdaq. Let's move back up to the 5 minute and see if that just provides us a different perspective. Yeah, we can see once these highs were made, then it's just kind of been a up and down type situation going on for Nasdaq. Okay, just a couple minutes away from the final macro before lunch. Just want to let everyone know we have about 10 to 15 minutes left in the session. So if you have any additional comments or questions you would like to ask or put in the chat, go ahead and do that now so we make sure we get those answered. Yep, I want to send a final thank you to everyone who liked the video. It was very critical that we get those likes up this morning, and we did. And then all of a sudden, we started seeing more traders join our room. So thank you for that. Thank you for helping out. That helped out quite a bit. We were able to get our numbers over 40 up, and then I think the highest we were at is in the low 90s. So that was quite good. Yeah, the hard thing about music on the stream, Samuel, is copyright. So you want to make sure there's no copyright issues. Not to mention whether that would be distracting or not. So not really sure. I'm leaning towards no, um, but I'm open to suggestions. Uh, all right, David. I'm glad you joined the channel. Glad you're coming in on a daily basis. Thank you very much for that. Thanks for your support. It's the only way this works. Is that you guys enjoy the content and you continue to come back. So thank you all for your support. Like I said, there's a handful of 15 or 20 of you that I see in the chat on a daily basis. So I can't thank you enough for your support. And David, I think it's the first time I've seen you in the chat, or maybe second. Thank you also. And I know there's a host of others that aren't always in the chat, but are tuning in and making sure that they're here for the session. So thank you all. All right, Al. Thank you for your comment. And I agree. People who like music generally want to listen to what they like. And so they already have it going on at their place. Here since 300 subs. Samuel the Trader. Sweet. Okay. So that means you were here since right around Christmas. Right around Christmas. My first live stream, day number 1, I think I had 28 subs. And I picked up one additional that first day. And then I think I got to the second day. So I had 31 or so heading into the weekend because I started on a Thursday. And it's just been explosive ever since then. So yeah, I've gotten a great deal of support, and that's why I want to continue doing these. And I mean, I'm having fun doing it anyway. But you guys have given me the confidence that this is working and that you enjoy it. So every day there's going to be an invitation. Look out for it. All right, as we head into the lunch hour, I want everyone to pay attention to this equal lows down here. Remember earlier when I was talking about how it just beat it by a couple ticks and then it started moving upwards. So anyone who was looking for a long saw a sweep of liquidity and then they saw it take off and it was like, okay, yeah, that's cool. But the fact that it only took it by a few ticks, that leaves the door wide open for it to come back later to visit. And so we have equal lows here. And we have another set of equal lows right here. Right. And so those are two areas that we want to pay attention to for liquidity sweeps during the lunch hour and potentially afterwards. And especially now, if we see price pushing upwards, we may actually get a breach of this high, which would then set it up for lunch to then start sweeping lows. Oh, the EMA. I believe this is 20. I believe this is 20. Yep. Yeah, it's 20. Yeah, and to be honest, I can't remember why I put it on my chart because I know I didn't have it there before. I think during one of my sessions, someone mentioned it or asked about it, and I threw it up there, and it's just been sitting there now for 3 weeks or so. But then we can see that there was a play right off it on this candle. Went all the way into it, and then it rejected out. It was a big move down. Wow, it's about a 35-point move down. Okay, will we see this high breached before lunch? Got 2 more minutes. Let's wait and see what happens. All right, it's teasing us. It looked like it wanted to run up there, and then it started pulling back. We got another minute before this candle closes. Wow, look at that. Boom. There it is. Taken. See, who was that who asked me earlier? Oh, that was Phoenix who asked me if it was going to go up or not. And I said everything looked good based on this order block setup, and it just, at least it for the most part stayed above the 50%. It kept closing. I mean, it was dipping below. It was pushing wicks through. So if you put your stop loss at the bottom and you went of this order block and you went long, yeah, you got stopped out several times. Um, but if you were able to put your stop loss below any of these other areas to the left, maybe you survive. But finally, we got to push upwards, and look at that. All right, and now it's 12 o'clock, so we'll see what happens over lunch. But like I mentioned, pay attention to these equal lows. If you see price start to go lower, those could be areas that it'll touch. So that's 640 and 623. Above, it's 729. 729 is the level. All right. All right. Any last questions or comments? Otherwise, we'll break for an hour and then we'll come back at 1 o'clock. See if we can't do this again. See if we can do better this afternoon. It's always good to be conservative in the morning. Just make sure that you are seeing the market the way you want to see it, and then move forward after that. I'm notorious for sitting down, and as soon as I see something that looks close to my setup, taking the entry, failing on my first trade, and then spending the rest of the day trying to get back to break even or to get positive. That was one of my issues about 6 months back. So it's good now to be a bit more cautious in the morning and then look for something once I find it. Alrighty. Fair value gap right there. Alrighty. Okay, everyone. So unless it gets something pop up right now, we're gonna shut this thing down and we're gonna come back in just 1 hour.